Yo, what's up guys? Universal Mastery. So, what I do on my channel is I talk about the occult sciences and I break them down to a very practical level so that you can use them in your day-to-day life and get real actual results. Now, what I'm going to be talking about in today's video is something that is very important to understand, and it's also something that was requested by multiple people. And this is something that I already wanted to make a video on anyways, and then I started getting all these requests about it, so I'm glad to be covering it. So what we're going to be talking about in today's video, what I'm going to title it is Lucifer and everything you need to know about him. So if you want to know what you need to know about Lucifer and his totality, and his spirit and what he represents, what the symbolism of Lucifer is, then stay tuned for the rest of this video. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is definitely make sure you go and you check out my Patreon. On my Patreon, I have exclusive content. Some of that content is going to be geared towards actual spiritual practices that I perform on camera, and I teach you how to do them yourself so that you get success with them. Okay, so half of the practices are going to be geared towards that, and they're very important practices in regards to, if you're a beginner, even if you're advanced, you're going to get a lot of value out of these practices, but especially if you're a beginner getting into magic and you want to know how to do what is called an invocation, which is one of the most important things. I have a video where I break that down and I teach you how to do it. Okay? Then the other part of the videos that are on my Patreon are going to be geared towards something that I like to call educational entertainment. So these videos are entertaining, but you're also getting a lot of value out of them because they're educational as well. It's a video that's very similar to a video like this. So what I do is I post videos weekly on my Patreon, and all of the videos that are on my Patreon are not on my YouTube channel. So where you're gonna be able to find my Patreon link is when you go to the description, you're gonna click that drop down. It's gonna be the very first link at the top, says my Patreon right next to it. And in order to gain access to all of these videos that are not on my YouTube channel, you have to at least be a tier 2 member or up. In order to be a tier 2 member, it costs $9.95 a month, and that's a reoccurring payment. But if you do the math, that's literally less than $1 a day. So there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to afford that with the value that I have on there, and I stand on that 100%. Okay, but other than that, I want to give a special shout out to the top tier members of the Patreon. Their names are going to be mentioned in the parentheses below that very first link. So huge shout out to you guys. And other than that, let's get right into this video. So here's the thing. So this is I need to make sure that I really do justice in this video in regards to what I'm going to be sharing about Lucifer, because Lucifer is one of the spirits that has been literally one of the most influential spirits in my personal life, and I believe in a lot of occult practitioners' lives. Lucifer is one of those spirits that is a very important, very profound spirit that if you are a serious occult practitioner, you will come in contact with Lucifer at some point. And there's a reason for that, because of what the symbolism of Lucifer is and what he represents in occult transformation, because he really does have a strong position when it comes to transformation. So first thing that we should cover is Lucifer the name Lucifer means light bearer, okay? So Lucifer, as we know from the Bible and from the Christian perspective, he was the spirit that rebelled against God. And because of that rebellion, he was thrown down to hell, and then he gained rulership in hell. But let's go a little bit deeper. Why did Lucifer rebel in the first place? Lucifer rebelled because he didn't agree with what God was saying. He didn't agree with the ideas or the beliefs or what God was telling him to do. He essentially was like, why are you able to tell me all these things? Why are you telling me all these things? I have my own belief system, and I believe that I have a very powerful thing in me as well, and I think I should have some rulership here. And then God was like, no, I am the one and only, and threw him down to hell. So Lucifer went down to hell, and then he created his own legions, and he gained his own allies, his own partnerships, and became essentially his own God. So that was the Christian perspective of it. Now let's get a little more practical here. Lucifer is a very ancient spirit. This is a spirit that is so ancient that we can't really necessarily put a date on it. So there's some, just to give you an example of some areas where Lucifer shows up, like Horus. So you have Set and Horus, the two twin brothers that are different, that are opposite of each other. Set and Horus. Horus is also known to be Lucifer. And then there's also, I'm not going to go too in depth about all these other different types of deities that I believe to be Lucifer, because there's a lot, okay? Lucifer shows up in pretty much every single tradition, every single culture to some degree. And, some people think it's this deity and some people think it's this deity. Regardless, he shows up in pretty much every single, as I said, tradition in every single culture. The important thing to understand is what he represents. What influence does that spirit bring to the table? So Lucifer, by his nature, is the spirit of rebellion for a purpose. So Lucifer is the type of spirit that when you start working with him, or when you start feeling his influence, and if you felt his influence before, even if you never worked with him, you still feel his influence because he is a force of nature. So every time you see people that have rebelled against these constructs that don't really have too much solidity to them, or they don't have too much backbone to them, meaning like there are many constructs in our society, in our world today, that are based off of chaos, that are constructs that were built on terrible, they were built from terrible designs, and they don't have good intentions. Lucifer is the spirit that recognizes that, whether you're aware of it or unaware of it, and you gain this nasty feeling towards that thing, and it's like, no, I don't like this. Fuck that. I'm going to call my own shots here. I'm going to move in this direction because this is what I find to be more authentic for me. And why am I going to give my power away to someone that I feel like doesn't have good intentions in the first place and doesn't have good intentions for me? Why would I do that? So I'm going to go down my own path, no matter how hard that path is, and I'm going to make it work because I realize the power that I have in myself. That is the influence of Lucifer. Okay? So Lucifer as a spirit is a very interesting spirit because as I said with his name, he's known to be the light bearer. But he's also, like, you might ask yourself the question, light bearer, like how is he light bearer if he has rulership in the demonic hierarchies? Well, there's a reason for that. Lucifer, being the light bearer, is also a chaotic spirit by his nature. Very similar to how we are. We are, as human beings, we're pretty chaotic by our nature because we're born into a world that is essentially extremely chaotic and ruled by a lot of chaotic forces. So Lucifer, in his nature, is a chaotic force. He's a chaotic spirit. But Lucifer is also a very intelligent spirit that wants to bring order to the chaos. So Lucifer, having that chaotic nature, has rulership over a lot of the infernal hierarchies, a lot of the demonic hierarchies. But he, as I said, he wants to bring order. And what order is bringing structure to chaos. So essentially, it's getting rid of chaos. It's eliminating chaos for the person that's bringing order to bring more comfort or more success or more victory to the people that are either on his team or for the person in general that's bringing that structure and bringing that order. So Lucifer, obviously, Lucifer recognizes that he's a chaotic spirit by nature. He recognizes that he has rulership over a bunch of other chaotic spirits and has many legions, and a lot of spirits follow his command and work for him and serve him because he's that powerful. But he also, as I said, he also realizes that his nature wants to bring order, and he wants to bring order to that chaos in the proper way. So that's why he's such a powerful spirit, because there are a lot of spirits that don't have that same that same intention of wanting to bring that order to the picture. They don't have that same intention of like, some of these spirits are chaotic, and they don't have a problem being chaotic. They don't care. They will just manifest chaotic situations, and it takes the person working with the spirit to bring that order, to say, hey, look, I'm calling you, this chaotic spirit, and I need you to do this for me, or I want you to do this for me. And obviously, if you want to be able to do that with a chaotic spirit, you have to have power. Because that chaotic spirit is not going to listen to you, because by its nature, it's chaotic, and it doesn't want to necessarily do that for you unless you have a certain amount of power, which, as I said in other videos, comes from path working. So this is why it's so important to understand Lucifer and to actually work with Lucifer if you're in the occult, and especially if you're a black magician. Okay? And I know many people, white magicians, black magicians, that all work with Lucifer. But if you want to get the most out of Lucifer, you got to do it from the black magician side, because, as I said, Lucifer is a chaotic spirit by nature that is a very intelligent spirit that wants to end chaos, essentially. A lot of people don't know that about Lucifer. Lucifer doesn't want chaos. He wants order. He wants structure. He is the light bearer, but he also is the ruler over the infernal hierarchies, and is a very extremely chaotic spirit by his own nature, just like us. Like we all understand as human beings, we have a very chaotic side to us that can easily get out of hand, but we discipline ourselves daily, and we strive to be more powerful, and we strive to control our power and bring order to our lives, rather than just let everything wreak havoc and then play the victim game and be like, it's not fair, I don't know why everything's happening. So Lucifer is very powerful in that regards, and he can help whoever that works with him in that way. So that's why it's extremely important to work with Lucifer, because he will develop that ability within you. The more you get to understand, the more you get to learn about, and the more you get to work with Lucifer, the light bearer, the more you realize that essence that he is in yourself, or that spirit that he is in yourself, because you're working with him, you're inviting him in. So you'll start to realize how to bring more order to your life by utilizing chaos around you. And this is where, the vampiric aspect of Lucifer can come in, which, once again, a lot of people don't talk about. But when you become a master of chaos, and you learn how to take energy from chaos and then create something in a structured manner, in an ordered manner that is beneficial for you and the people that you love and your friends or whatever, there's a vampiric aspect to that, to be able to suck from chaos, to take energy away from chaos, which is something that I mentioned in the YouTube video that I have about occult vampirism, where you're sucking a negative energy from people. You're sucking chaos from the world around you, and you're transmuting it into power for your own life and for your own self. Lucifer can teach you how to do that. Lucifer is a vampiric spirit, for sure, 100%. And that is what a real vampire is, and that is very powerful because chaos is all potential. Chaos is very powerful. So when you suck in chaos, you're also as I said, you're alchemizing it, you're transmuting it. This may sound very simple. This may sound like, oh, you're just transmitting it, cool, you're just getting power. But there's other things that are happening behind scenes, you could say, or in your subconscious, in the astral realm, in other dimensions, that are also taking place during this whole entire process. And I could make a whole video on that and go on that forever, but there are other things taking place. Your soul is changing, okay? You are changing your soul. There is such thing as a vampire soul, which is different than anyone else's soul. Most people's souls are spinning, like there's a science to it, and there's physics to it, but most people's energy field is spinning clockwise. When you gain the soul of the vampire, it reverses and it starts to spin counterclockwise, and that counterclockwise spin pulls negative energy, it pulls chaos, and it gives you the good from the chaos. This way gets rid of all your good and pulls bad into your life. So when you transform your soul by doing this, working with these powerful spirits like Lucifer, you're as you're transmuting different types of energies, as you're taking in chaos, you're changing on a very deep level. And that change, once again, there's science and there's physics that, you know, do come into play here, which I'm not going to go into right now. And quite frankly, I'm trying to study it myself so that I can explain it as best as I can. But there is a different rotation that will eventually happen with your soul. It's known as the vampire vortex. It's the vampire soul. And these people, once again, most people are living in chaos and all the good's being sucked out of them. The person who has the vampire soul and the real vampires here on earth that have mastered their vampirism skills are sucking away the chaos, sucking in the chaos, and they're transmuting the good from the chaos. Okay? So that's another aspect. And, you know, so Lucifer is just a very powerful spirit. And as I said, he has legions. There are many spirits that serve Lucifer. So when you work with Lucifer, you're also opening doors to be led to many other different spirits, because Lucifer knows what you need to do to transform. And if you're working with him from the intention of wanting to reach ultimate power and wanting to gain the power of Lucifer and wanting to be your best self and reach your highest potential, Lucifer will lead you in that direction. He is that kind of spirit. Once again, he wants to bring order. He wants to help you in that manner. He wants to work through you in that way. So when I do my thing, when I make my YouTube videos, when I make sure I'm uploading as often as I can, when I'm making sure my thumbnails are on point, when I'm making sure things are aligned, you know, I have my camera here, I have my lighting, you know, over here, that's Lucifer. That's order to this entire situation. But I'm also utilizing chaos in my life. I also work with the Ars Goetic demons, very chaotic forces. The Ars Goetia are very chaotic forces. I work with other types of chaotic forces, but I have them do things for me. I tell them that this is what I want in my life. This is what I'm aiming for. This is the kind of person I am. This is what my spirit wants. And they go and they do that. But I didn't just gain that ability necessarily from just working with Lucifer. I had to go through challenges. I had to go through certain situations to be able to have this power where these demons serve me, okay? And where these spirits listen to me, where they're like, okay, you know what? I will do that for you because I see that you're powerful. And it's not even, sometimes it's like when it comes to demons, it's not even at the point where it's like, you know, will you do this for me? It's like, I need you to do this for me. Like, I need you to go and do that for me. And they will do it because power is what rules. When it comes to the demonic hierarchies and when it comes to the infernal planes, power rules. If you have the power, things work for you. You say it, it gets done. Okay, that doesn't mean that I treat demons or other spirits that are lesser. I don't treat them with disrespect. I still do treat them with respect because I do gain value from building relationships with them, because sometimes they'll share information that they don't necessarily need to share. So then, you know, I will build relationships with them. But what you do need to understand, and this is why you don't want to worship any spirit, you are God in your own right. You are on a path to developing your power so that you can have rulership over all spirits. Okay, that is the main goal. That is the path. Okay. And you'll find that within your own inner higher self, which is directly connected to what is known as the daemon, the divine, your own inner divine intelligence. And if you do it through the black magic route, you're going to develop your daemon through the abyss, through darkness. And that's a very powerful spirit that you bridge that gap to, which is directly connected to your subconscious and your unconscious. Okay. So let me talk about this now with Lucifer. This is another reason why he's so important. So as we know, Lucifer fell from heaven into the infernal planes. So especially as a black magician, especially, this is why you will get the most out of Lucifer if you are a black magician. Excuse me. Lucifer is the spirit that leads you to the cliff-off. Lucifer is the spirit that leads you to the tunnels of the cliff-off where you're going to be able to fully develop your power. So when I talk about going through those certain experiences, going through those certain situations that are going to test you on levels that you've probably never been tested before, but are also going to give you powers that you never knew you could ever wield or have before or become aware of, you're going to find those tests manifesting from the shells of the cliff-off when you start to work with them, and then you travel through the different pathways, which are known as the tunnels of Set, and then there's different tunnels called the tunnels of Amalek. When you start to travel through these tunnels, that is where you're going to really develop these powers, okay? So Lucifer is the spirit that will guide you to the Qliphoth. So, for example, when I started getting into the occult, I knew nothing about the Tree of Life, nothing. All I knew is that I wanted to get to my highest potential. I wanted to reach the highest level of power that I could reach. And I started with this one demon. I started with a demon, a powerful demon named Balaam. And Balaam very quickly led me to Lucifer. And actually, I think it was the other way around. I think Lucifer, yeah, for sure. Lucifer had Balaam lead me to him. And I remember doing a meditation in front of my mirror, and I saw a dragon's eye appear on my face. And I had no idea what it meant, but I thought it was very fascinating. I was like, this is crazy. Because I was just getting into this stuff, and I'm getting crazy results. And then next thing you know, I'm on my YouTube channel, and there's a YouTuber named E.A. Quetting, and the thumbnail of this video that is on my wall on like the first video is a dragon's eye, and it literally is titled, "Lucifer is Calling You." Literally. Like if you don't connect those dots, then you can't be walking this path. So I watched the video and I figured out, oh, this is connected to Lucifer. Let me work with Lucifer. And I felt it. I could tell. Like this is obvious to me that this is Lucifer calling me to work with him. So I started working with Lucifer, and I stayed with Lucifer because Lucifer had a lot to show me. And it was very, like, the stuff he was teaching me was very deep. I was trying, you know, he showed me how to do some spells. He showed me how to do magic. And what do I mean he showed me how to do this? I was doing magic. I was doing spells, tuning into Lucifer's spirit. So when you do invocations, the goal is to create some form of a connection to that spirit. Especially if you're going to be working with a spirit for a certain amount of time, you want to really establish a strong connection with that spirit. And me being new to the occult, I hadn't established that inner connection with my own daemon yet. So I didn't really have that inner voice that was guiding me. So when I started doing invocations of Lucifer, his voice became my inner guidance. So I would listen to that. So while I'm doing the spells, at first I was doing it I was just not in the right state of mind, and Lucifer would literally change my state of mind. He would be like, stop, and cause something off in my mind, and I would just freeze, and then he would say, take your time. He'd say, go slow, and I would go slow, and then he would be like, visualize what's going on, and I would visualize, and I would do it, and I would get results. I was going to school at the time, and I was doing spells in my classroom to make sure that this is real and that I'm getting real results, and I was seeing real manifestations the next day after, very quickly. So he taught me how to do that stuff, and then our workings got even deeper. Then he led me to other very powerful spirits. He led me to Belial right off the bat. Not actually, what was it? Did he lead me to Belial? He did. He led me to Belial right off the bat, and then Lilith. And when I connected, these were my three main spirits that I was working with, was Lucifer, Belial, and Lilith. And I had got crazy results working with them. I mean, in the sense of self-transformation and self-realization. So I started doing invocations of Belial, invocations of Lilith, all because Lucifer was leading me to them specifically. Not any of the Ars Goetia demons, just right to the, you could say the big dogs, the really powerful spirits, Belial and Lilith, and they're known to be the spirits that can be classified as the Qliphothic god. So they have a lot of rulership, and they can open really big doorways. Okay, and that's exactly what I did. So when I was doing my invocations of Belial and Lilith, I was opening doorways, and I was once again coming to these crazy realizations, and I was doing daily invocations of these three different spirits, and I was giving offerings, and I'm listening, I'm tuning into their guidance while I'm doing this. Mainly Lucifer's though, mainly Lucifer's. So I was tuned into his guidance, and sure enough, I had moved to Miami. Everything worked out the way that I needed it to. I moved to Miami, and I came across the information of the occult, or not the occult, of the Qliphoth. And that is literally where my entire life changed, when I initiated into the Qliphoth. And that was through VK Jehoram's WordPress. That's where I was led to initiate into it. I still didn't know anything about the Qliphoth, really, other than this is a really important path of self-transformation. I, being very ignorant, thought, oh, this is going to be a quick thing. I'm going to finish this in like 2 months, okay? I'm going to initiate through the Qliphoths, gain all this power, 2 months, everything's going to be great. It's been 2 years now, and I'm still working through the final path. Just to give you some context, it's not a joke, and I have learned so much in depth about the occult and about black magic and about all of these different spirits and where they are, you know, what their positions are, and you know, what are the Ars Goetia? What are angels? What are the Qliphothic gods? You know, what are gatekeepers? What are these spirits? What's Karanzan? What's Shugal? What's the Abyss? What's Dath? So I learned all these things that I would have never learned before, and this is, quite frankly, information that no one else knows unless you really do go through this experience, or unless you're extremely drawn towards the studies of the occult in general, which most people aren't if you're not actually doing these real practices. So not only am I a studied occultist, but I'm an experienced occultist. I've gone through these pathways, and as I said, I'm not even finished. I'm on that final path right now, okay? Final path in the tunnels of Amalek, or tunnels of Set, if you will. Path 32. And I'll make different videos on that, you know, the tunnels of Set another time. But Lucifer is a spirit that shows you the reverse tree. He's also that spirit. So if you are wanting to be a black magician, which is the only path, and I'm saying this out of all truth, is the only path to real power, to true power, because the left-hand path, the black magician path, will take you to a balanced state of being once you've finished it, okay? It will, and it is a balanced path in its totality, because you're also working with, you can also work with the angelic. You're also working with the Sephirothic aspects as well. You're getting Sephirothic attributations as you're working through the Qliphoth, but it doesn't happen if you're a white magician. You do not work with the Qliphoth if you're a white magician. You don't work with the infernal hierarchy if you're a white magician. And that screws you over. So Lucifer is that spirit that will show you the real path of power and the real path of transformation. That's why he is such an important, powerful spirit in general. And quite frankly, he is the one spirit that, he is the most important spirit in my practice, in my life. He has been the spirit that has literally guided me through so much stuff and taught me so much stuff. And he has a lot of power, and he has a lot of, you know, a lot of knowledge to give you, and a lot of guidance to give you. But he's a very serious spirit, very serious, very, like, if you don't want to work with Lucifer if you're not going to take this serious. Okay, you don't want to work with him if you're not going to take this practice serious. He's not meant to be worked with if you're not going to take chaos and make chaos your little bitch and then be a god of your own life. He won't be, you know, he's not the spirit you want to work with if that's the case. So other than that, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up, okay? Hit the thumbs up. Then come down here, hit the subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell because I post videos as often as I can. And I guarantee that if you hit that notification bell, I will post a video that, that you need to see exactly when I post it. Okay, like the right timing. And then other than that, definitely remember the Patreon is going to be the very first link in the description. So you'll hit that drop down Patreon first link. Definitely make sure you go and you check that out. Then go to the second link below. That's going to take you to my Facebook community. On the Facebook community, when you click that link, you're going to see a pinned post that says private group. Click that, request to join the private group. Once I get 50 people in there, I'm going to be posting on there consistently in the form of written content and in the form of pictorial quotes. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day or night wherever you are, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.